If you're watching this, you're probably wondering how long studying Japanese takes, or maybe how easy or difficult it is. These are, well, the most common questions for people who are on the fence of starting to study Japanese or starting to learn Japanese. For the people who want a short answer to these questions, yes, but it depends. Studying any language takes time and dedication, but the amount that you hear and interact with the language can have a very big impact on how quickly you can study a language and how fast you can also become fluent in it. Studying French in France, which is kind of difficult to say, will take less time to get the hang of compared to studying Korean in Germany, for example. But also the languages you already know will have a very big impact on how long it will take you to study a new language. For Dutch people, for example, to study a language such as Spanish or French, sure, it will be difficult, especially Spanish, but it will be easier compared to a Vietnamese person studying English, due to the language being too different from each other, mainly grammar-wise, but also vocab-wise. This is enough of a reason for many people to just leave it as an idea of studying Japanese will be too hard because my mother tongue is too different. And that's it. They just give up without ever really trying to notice if it's difficult or not. But let's be realistic. Yes, it will be more difficult. But even though it's probably going to be harder if your native tongue is too different from Japanese, it's not impossible. Many people have learned Japanese whilst maybe even speaking your mother tongue or coming from a language which isn't similar to Japanese at all. So if you are really thinking that studying Japanese will be too difficult because of this, then the answer is no. You should not study Japanese, because thinking of giving up before even starting will probably make you quit in a week, in a month, or at least within the first year. And it would have been a loss of your time, to be honest. If you are already considering to give up without even wanting to give it a try, don't even start. Don't waste your time. Now, let's only focus on Japanese for a moment. Do you live in Japan, or are you planning on living in Japan? Well, then the answer to the whole question, should you study Japanese, is easy. Yes, you should study Japanese if you want to live in Japan. And now I'm not talking about showing respect to the people here. No, if you don't know Japanese and just come to live here, or if you at least don't want to study the language, you'll just have a stressful time because everything is in Japanese. And as much as you want to believe that Japanese people know English, that's not really the case. The moment that you go to government offices, the whole knowing English kind of very easily goes away. But yeah, if you will live in Japan or are living in Japan and you're thinking of studying Japanese, yes, you should probably study Japanese. If you don't live in Japan or you're only planning on traveling to Japan, then the answer depends if you should study Japanese or not. If you don't interact enough with the Japanese language on a at least weekly basis, by watching dramas, Japanese dramas, animes, or reading manga, anything, books, novels, or talking to people in Japanese, then studying Japanese will go a lot slower and will take way more time. In this case, you really need to decide for yourself if the time investment is worth it or not. Basically, look at what you want to achieve by studying the language. If you still want to study Japanese, take in mind that you will be a lot slower, or at least slower, in picking up the language compared to others who interact a lot more with the language. Following this route does take a lot more discipline and motivation. If you're only going to visit Japan a couple of times and you don't really interact enough with Japanese materials on a weekly basis, yeah, discipline and motivation will really need to keep you going to actually know the language. If you just want to learn the basics, that's easy, go ahead. But if you really want to know the language without being kind of invested in interacting with the Japanese language on a weekly basis, then first of all, why? Second of all, good luck. In the end, give it a chance. Studying Japanese is not only useful for knowing the language, if you study Japanese, you kind of expect to know the language, that's your main goal. But while studying a different language, because of the different way of building sentences and different ways of using words, I think it's a good brain training thing. Even if you end up stopping to learn Japanese, you will probably have gained some amount of new skills. You will also have kept your brain active to a certain point. And probably one of the biggest benefits that you can have from studying a language like Japanese, you teach yourself how to learn. And that's a very valuable skill. Like a little bit of a story time, but in school, I was doing fine. Not amazing, not bad. I could do all the tests without problems, and my homework was also not really an issue. But I never really remembered the stuff after the test or after doing the homework. And that's because, this is something that I feel school fails at. Schools don't teach you how to learn. That's kind of a strange way to say it, but I feel like in the past 8 years of self-studying Japanese and self-studying programming and such, I've learned a lot more about how to properly study, how to properly learn, how to keep things in my mind longer, compared to when I was studying at school. In school, they teach you stuff, you're supposed to learn it. How? They don't care, as long as you pass your tests and don't have bad grades. But actually learning a language, like studying something to remember it in the long term, it's different. So yeah, by self-studying, by having self-studied Japanese, you use your motivation, you use your discipline to find ways to learn more efficiently. You improve your learning so you forget less, which makes you remember for longer and allows you to study more in shorter periods of time. I know this video is kind of very it's very much me just talking and giving advice and hoping that something sticks. But yeah, if you made it this far into the video, my answer on should you study Japanese? It's a yes. You should study Japanese because you are clearly motivated enough to sit through this entire video and you have an interest in wanting to know if you can get value out of studying the language. But please, when you start, don't feel like stopping with studying Japanese is failing. Failing is what you do when you fail to even start. If you have tried to study Japanese, but had to give up for whatever reason, you did not fail. Like, take that out of your mind. You did not fail. You have tried. You didn't fail, you tried. Big difference. I don't think you can say to people who tried to study a language or tried to study something that they failed. They gave it a go. So yeah, the answer to should you study Japanese, for me, it's a yes. Rewards from it, except for being able to speak Japanese, are worth it. Just the knowledge of knowing how to study something, it is more than worth it. Good luck on your journey to study Japanese. And if you want to see more videos of studying Japanese, please check out my channel, subscribe, give a like, and yeah, check out my other videos. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you will start studying Japanese if you made it this far, because if you made it this far, you're clearly motivated enough to actually try out the language. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Mata ne! Whee! Oh, it's so far.